benign violation theory, it really simplifies a lot of this ideas of how jokes work. And what's great about benign violation is that it can be applied to any type of humor. It doesn't matter whether you're writing something, whether you're an improvisational comedian, whether this is just a funny comment that you're making in a conversation, or even if you see like a funny meme online. All of it works for the same reason. And when you understand that reason, instead of trying to figure out what joke should I write, you start thinking, how can I set up a benign violation for my audience? And that is a very easy thing to do once you understand these mechanics. Once we have a foundation for benign violation theory, we're going to build on it, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can apply it in a very easy way to generate your own punchlines. So let's talk about the most important mechanic in all of comedy. That's benign violation. There are two parts of a benign violation. There is the benign part, which is what we think is okay. And then there's the violation. A violation is anything we interpret as being not okay. Something about it is just wrong. Every idea is going to fall into one of these two categories. It's either going to be okay or acceptable, or it's going to be not okay or not right. And by the way, if you say, I don't care, then what that really means is that it is acceptable enough. Every serious idea is interpreted as an either or. It is either okay or it is not okay, but it cannot be both. What is so interesting about humor is that humor represents the opposite. The only time people laugh is when they interpret a situation as being both okay and not okay at the same time. Now, this probably sounds really strange at first, but let me give you a few examples and you can see just how true this is. One of the best examples comes from Dr. Peter McGraw, one of the co-inventors of benign violation theory. In his TED Talk, he uses the example of being tickled. Think about 3 different situations where you're being tickled. The first situation represents 100% safety, and this would be like trying to tickle yourself. Because you are the one doing it, there is a harmless and inconsequential situation, right? You can stop anytime you want. There's no consequences to it. You are in complete control. So in this situation, you have no vulnerabilities. So it's kind of boring. In the opposite situation, we have a situation where you are 0% in control. And this would be like being tickled by a really creepy stranger. In this situation, the lack of any control means that you won't be able to relax and enjoy being tickled. It will no longer be funny because you no longer have any safety, right? There's no trust between you and this stranger. So any humor is going to be overshadowed by just being way too vulnerable. Now let's look at the third situation. In the third scenario, you are being tickled by somebody that you trust. And this situation is actually going to be funny because you have a mixture of safety and violation. You are no longer completely in control, but at the same time, you can let your guard down because there is some safety here. It is only in situations like this where you can drop your guard and you can feel safe while allowing a violation to take place. This situation is slightly threatening, but it's still okay because you know that it is ultimately harmless. So tickling is only funny when it is both okay and not okay at the same time. Here's an example of a benign violation that everyone can relate to, and that is children being hilarious. If you think about children and the comments they make, they're able to create laughter in a way that it is much more difficult for adults. And the reason that is true is because kids have this innocence to them that creates a lot of safety whenever they say something that would be a violation. So they say something that is not okay. But as adults, we understand that the child didn't know better. So there is an innocence to the comment. And because that comment can be interpreted in a way that is both okay, because the child is innocent, and not okay, because the child said something awful. Because of those two interpretations are clashing, we get this benign violation, and that leads to laughter. Anytime a child says a funny comment like this, it's coming from a benign violation. The innocence of the child is what is allowing you to really drop your guard and not be offended by what is actually being said. Here's an example that I used from the book. A mother and a 5-year-old are in a grocery store, and the 5-year-old says, "That man is using a walking cane because he's old and about to die." Think about this from the perspectives of both the mother and the child. From the child's perspective, there is no violation. All he did was say something that he believes to be correct. There is no part of his sentence that he thinks is not okay. Therefore, he's not going to laugh. On the mother's side, there is too big of a violation that it doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel like a playful situation. So she is not going to laugh either. So both of these people are in the same situation. They're interpreting it completely differently. But neither one is creating a benign violation where it is both okay and not okay at the same time. So nobody is going to be laughing in this situation. However, if you fast forward and maybe think about 2 or 3 months down the road, then this mother might start telling this story as a funny story. Why? Because as time passes, the situation becomes safer and safer, right? It's psychologically safe for her. She's no longer stressed out about the situation. She can look back at it and say, you know, it actually was kind of funny. At that point, the situation would be both not okay and okay at the same time, and so it actually would be funny. This is pretty incredible. Benign violation theory successfully explains why two people can have two different reasons for not laughing at the same situation, but then one person later on can see the situation from a different perspective and then start laughing. So let's take an example that's more of a conventional joke. A businessman has just completed registering at a hotel desk, and as he turns, he says to the clerk, "Oh, and I thought I should mention that I prefer that the porn channel on my room television be disabled." The clerk replies, "We only have regular porn, you sick bastard." This is more of a setup punchline type joke, but benign violation theory still works here. The humor is coming from how you are deciding to interpret the word disabled. When the businessman says that he would like the porn channel disabled, what he means is that he does not want any porn in his room. However, the clerk interprets it differently by thinking that the businessman would actually like the porn channel to only have disabled people on it. So we have this situation where interpreting the word disabled creates this okay and not okay interpretation at the same time. As an audience member, we can laugh because we understand the safe reason why the businessman would say, "Please have the porn channel disabled." But then we get to take that safety and appreciate the clerk's response of saying, "Wait, you only want disabled people on the porn channel." So we get to appreciate the violation at the same time because we have the safety. As we go through this course, we're going to see over and over again how the setup line for a joke or for a story creates this safety, and then we're going to be using punchlines to add the violation. Be sure to check out any of the PDFs that I've attached to this course. I'm going to be leaving a lot of examples as well as a bunch of exercises that are going to help you with understanding how the mechanics works as well as applying them to your own writing. So you don't want to miss those.